I Rejoice in You came from a musical experiment of sorts and a conversation. I was demoing one day on my laptop and I started making this little ostinato guitar line. And then I started just kind of layering some other parts on top of it. And I was just kind of listening, and for some reason I just started singing Underneath the Shadow of Your Wings. Of your wings, of your wings. I rejoice, I rejoice, I rejoice, I rejoice. And that was it. There was nothing else. And it was there for I had it for like a year and a half. And then I went back to it and I was praying it and I got to that, I rejoice, I rejoice. And I'm like, what am I rejoicing in? And all of a sudden it just sort of came out of me and out of my heart was just, God, I rejoice in You. And I had this whole image of just being under the shadow of God's protection and finding satisfaction in that and safety in that space and joy in that space. And I was telling a friend of mine about it, and we were talking about just like that image of God's wings and the shadow of His wings. And then all of a sudden, as we were talking, sometimes you have a conversation with a friend and you're kind of like praying as you're talking, and all of a sudden I had this image of like Jesus on the cross, and that what if the shadow of His wings that was being referred to in the Bible in some ways was prophetic in the image of Christ's arms on the cross casting the shadow out over the people of God. And so the connection is that underneath the shadow of the cross, like that's where we rejoice. And the bridge of it speaks just how Jesus laid out His body and His blood for us. He laid out His very life for us, and gives us everlasting life to satisfy our deepest hunger and desire. And so in that, it's the wedding feast of the Lamb, and He invites us to it, and in that we become sons and daughters in His body and blood.